Hello everybody, this is Chippy Monk. Hello everybody, this is Chippy Monk, aka JP, aka Shadow. But that's only on FPS games. I'm gonna be doing a tutorial series for SunVox. I'll start with a beginner guide and move on to more advanced stuff. Okay, so basically what you see here is a SunVox interface. This top part is called the pattern. I forgot what it's called. Pattern editor. These rows, each subsequent row from the top is a I think it's a 16th note. Each division of 4 is a quarter note. Each division of 16 is a whole note. And each column is a different instrument or different effect that you can set. Like you can do effect sweeps with a white noise or something. This right side is the module web. Now here, you map out all the modules, whether they be generators, samplers or whatnot, effects. If you plan on actually hearing them, they actually have to make their way to the output somehow. Here's the generator. That's creating sound. Now it's going through an echo, which delays it. Now you can see how the routing is done by this little pixel that rides along the lines. You can see which direction the input is going to. Now as long as the sound eventually gets to output, you'll hear it. Okay, over here you have your parameters for the selected module. That's what this is called, modules. Echo, you have dry, which is normal sound, wet, which is delayed sound, feedback, I'm not sure what that does actually. Delay, if you have it over here, you have a really short delay and it sounds really screwy. Stereo, if you have stereo speakers set, then you may be able to hear it. Hear that switching left and right sides? That's the stereo echo. Here we have the generator. Now this is not the default. The default is a triangle wave, which sounds like... That's a little bit too high. Sorry about that. That is what the triangle sounds like. Kind of old school sounding. Now originally the module is gonna have 8,000 release, which is hex for it's 100%. Okay. What you can do with that is you can set it to say 40, and then set the attack to 6. And then this bar over here called sustain. Now let's see what that does. It doesn't decrease in volume until we let go. So that's something good to know if you're new to this. Now duty cycle, you can only mess with this for the square. Let me show you what it does. Okay, that's normal. And that's with the duty cycle messed with. Like, you can change the pulse width. You can't dynamically change it though unless you have it controlled up. Let's see. Phase modulation, you can only use that if you have another sound input going into the generator. Normally it wouldn't affect it if it was sound input going into a generator, but if you switch on phase modulation, it changes a sound wave. Oh, and the other one you can do duty cycle for is the pulse. Let's make that shorter. Fail. Let's make that longer. So you probably are noticing how the waveform over here is changing when I do the duty cycle. Well, sorry about that. Well, that's what it does. Okay. Now setting your attack to 6. You're probably wondering why I did that. Well, if you're having a problem with clicking and you have your attack set to 0, you can just set that to 6. Clicking happens when a sudden rise in volume happens. It can make a pop-like sound. Let me demonstrate. Well, sometimes it's more violent than that. Like, say if you had this. You can kind of hear it. Now let's talk about this sucker right here. This may look more user-friendly. It's obviously a timeline. Everything from this point on, after the word timeline, is in your song. Anything behind that is not included. So you could have bonus material for playing live or something like that. The timeline will play until it finishes the rightmost pattern, which is this. Well, right now this is the rightmost pattern. Let's extend this to 64, twice of its original. And we're gonna rename this generator lead. Okay? Let's make that a saw. And let's change the color of this because I do not like how... Okay. It's easier for my head if I set all effects to yellow. And I have no idea why I just did that. Okay. So we have sawtooth going into an echo. Let's see what that sounds like. Pretty cool. Now let's mess around with chords. Well, first you have single note, then you have seconds, then you have thirds, then you have fourths, and fifths. Fifths are my favorite, by the way. Then you have triad chords. That's a major. That's a minor. And I don't know any others except for... This is a diminished chord. Whoops. What am I doing? Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's the only other chord I know, except, well, I know that major is just a fifth with the key in the middle depressed. Oh, and for some reason, you cannot pass E to O, I believe, do a chord. What the? Okay, this was on a different computer that I was, it would only allow 2 keys at a time and a certain range on the top row. Ooh, that's nice. I might incorporate that for a beauty type song. Okay, so Okay, so let's actually make a tune. Let's start with a simple arpeggio. You know, that could be our bass. We need a bass for that, though. Let's grab a generator. Can link it up by either clicking the link button and clicking the destination, which I'll undo right now to show you the second way. Or you can click Shift while holding that, and then, well, you can click on a module while holding Shift, select a module, and drag to the destination, like so. Sorry if my voice was a little bit hard to understand there. I really do apologize for that. Okay, now let's do pop prevention. 10 is in general a good release. Now let's see what that sounds like. Geode. Let's try F. D. Okay, maybe we can start off at D and then move down to C. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do the keys a little bit, and then I'm gonna show you how to copy it all the way down. Okay, so click the record button, and we're gonna want to set the edit step, which is how far it moves down after each press, to 2. And that's basically eighth notes. Now let's start off with D. Oh, this is gonna bug me. I'm so useless. Okay. Nope. Here we go. Oh yeah, and you can also alter the individual octaves, but I don't know why it would do that. So 1, 2, 1, 2, and here's how you duplicate. You select that, just like you would in Paint, for example. Right click, edit, duplicate. Now let's see, this is 64 long, so let's take the last half of that, edit, transpose, -1, -1, and that should give us a C arpeggio. Now also, I guess I could lighten the load of the sustain by giving it half velocity, which is pretty close to, that means something pretty close to volume. So I'm just gonna do that in between the notes. See how that sounds. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so that's our bass line. Oh, and I was gonna say I'm using earbuds for a microphone. Yep, but I'll probably have said it beforehand, like annotation-wise or something. Okay, now let's make a bass line. Just so, again, I'd probably said this before in an annotation, but whenever I left click, it shows up as a light gray starburst. Whenever I right click, it shows up as a dark gray starburst. So you can follow along my clicks. Okay, now let's make this also 64. It's a good overall number. Actually, I like using the number 128, which is one of these. It's fairly long and fairly nice. Okay, let's think of a lead. Okay, first we're gonna have to set that up a little bit. Oh, terrible, terrible.